Yep.
All right, the time now is 2:03 p.m. Today is August 19th, 2025. Welcome to the August Board of Directors meeting of the Erie Net Local Development Corporation. Before we get into the agenda, I'll just take a quick roll. Mark Cornell.
Present.
John Mills. Here. Lisa Keating.
Present.
Ben Castle.
Present.
Mike Breeden.
Here.
So, here. You have Ms. Reese
Yep.
virtually, as well as Mark Byer.
Here.
So, they're great. Hear you loud and clear. Just for the record, they are able to take action. They do not count for quorum.
And Andrew, they submitted their forms.
Fill form.
We like forms.
Mom.
Absent today, which you know, Skipper is absent, City of Buffalo, Legislator John Kilmore is absent, Guard from the library is absent, she is represented by Angela Marinucci. Scratch that, Nolan Skipper is actually here. So, that correction for the record. Also, in the room, we have Andrew Lindsay from Harris Beach. Still trying to get her. Mike Ryder from ECC, Fred Gordon online from North, online from ECC. I think that's about it. Right. We do have a forum in the room. So before we go into the meeting today, I'd just like to acknowledge John Spears. And this is our first meeting back, having lost him. And so he was a colleague, he was a friend, and he was a fellow board member. John joined us with a passion and perspective that left a lasting impression on all of us, but beyond his professional accomplishments. I personally knew John to be humble, was conscientious, warm, and eloquent. John was integral during many parts of the Erie Net story. Probably most notably, he was very, very impactful in our search for our executive director. John wasn't part of this community very long when he entered the board, but he provided much needed perspective that gave us the confidence to proceed with hiring both Melissa and Courtney, which to me is one of our greatest accomplishments to move this effort forward. We are grateful for the time that we had to share with him, carry his vision forward. Thank him for allowing us to occupy the space at the county library. It was awesome. And if you would just entertain me with just a moment of silence to John. Thank you. All right. So with that, I'd like to move into the report of the chair.
Wait, do the approvals first. Approval of minutes.
Oh.
I know you've heard of that. That's okay.
So if I could have a motion to accept the minutes from our previous meeting in June.
Motion.
Motion by Mike Breeden, second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Motion carries. Now we'll move into the report of the chair. So just to be very candid and frank with the team here, we've obviously been getting some not so favorable press about where we are, our initiative, and I would just like to open the floor first to Dan. Dan supposedly received communication from one of the legislators, and anybody else who wants to participate in the conversation.
Sure. So it was a week ago Thursday, I mean, that would have been the August 7th. My department, county got an outreach from WIBB TV asking for my response to a letter that Lindsay Larigo, legislator Larigo, had told them that she sent to Missy and to I with a number of questions and wanting information on HearingNet, status of HearingNet, what work has been happening to date. I had not gotten that letter. That was Thursday. I'm not sure when it was sent. I understand she talked to WIVB on that Wednesday. By Friday, I still had not gotten a letter, no email, no interoffice mail, no nothing,
Same,
no phone call.
same.
So I sent one of my staff persons over to her office to get a copy of the letter. The staff person in her office knew nothing of a letter coming from her. About an hour and a half later, a staff person, someone, found it and sent it over to me. By then I'd gone on vacation and on vacation this week. So I did not get a chance to respond, but I did bring copies because I do think it's important for people to see, and they're valid questions. I mean, they're valid questions that are appropriate to be asked. But I would add that everything she's asking for is already on our website. All of our meeting agendas, minutes, resolutions, budgets. She's a couple of things. I think there's a bit of a misunderstanding that, one of the questions, how many people, no one in her district have been connected yet, which is a basic misunderstanding that this is not a final mile project. This is a middle mile project intended to spur competition from other ISPs to then reach out to unserved and other underserved and unserved portions of the county. So that's kind of one misunderstanding. She talks about how, this is proposed by the county executive in 2019 and no progress has been made. I would point out that the LDC, this board, was not created until September of 2022.
Yeah.
With the availability of ARPA funds from the Biden infrastructure package. So there was really nothing to be done over the pandemic and without money. But 2022 we started. We've had 33 board meetings since then. Every one of those meetings is fully documented with YouTube videos. Thank you, you guys. You guys have been posting this stuff since 2022, which is more than I can say for probably any other board I'm on. I don't think anyone posts YouTube videos, particularly going that far back. What you guys have been doing, exceeds what the legislature passed for the county to start doing. But anyways, I do want to respond to this. I don't want it to get blown out of proportion. There's this sense that nothing's happening, we're way over budget, we haven't accomplished anything. And, these, as we know, setting this thing up, it's complicated. You're setting up a new utility, a new entity with all sorts of, requirements, legal requirements, government requirements on that. Working with the city, working with, the National Grid and NICEAG and all the other parties that we've had to, it's a complicated project, and but it's critical infrastructure, and I think we are making progress. I don't think anyone expected the make-ready work to take that long, or as long as it has. But 12,000 poles is a lot. But I would encourage you to look at this. I will, like I said, be drafting a response. I would note that it's addressed to me and to Missy at my address, so nothing.
We've never received it,
Yeah,
no.
nothing was ever received or sent to HearingNet. So I don't know, I just won't say anymore. I would like a chance to update them, the legislature. I think they deserve an update. They're also welcome to chime in and listen to any of these calls. And John Mills is here. You should hear about every meeting. Legislator Gilmore's a more recent addition, but you guys are active and participating. And I think it's we all understand the politics and political environment we're in. I don't appreciate that a project that is being done this diligently and this transparently with everything being published is kind of being raked through the mud for political reasons. But those things happen. We'll deal with it. I just want to make sure that we get the right information out to the public and that people do take the time to do their own research and look at the site. I don't know, Courtney, if you get a chance over the next couple of days, if you could just check the analytics on the website and see if we've gotten a bunch of hits since then. But, the only call I've gotten in my department is from WIDB. We sent them a response, which I can share with the board if you'd like. It's kind of a generic response because I hadn't seen the letter at the point. But, Missy and I worked on that. You actually submitted it to WIDB. I don't know if they replied at all, but no one else reached out. And all those, media outreach. So I'm hoping that it doesn't catch legs, but, we'll have to respond, and we'll respond appropriately and accurately. And
So I have a couple things just to add to that too. That wasn't the first of that week that we had been mentioned by Lindsay Larigo, or maybe it was a week before. And then the person that's running for the county controller, and I don't remember her name, had done a press conference called Erie Not with the supervisor from West Seneca. And almost the entire press conference that they did was incorrect, infactual. I mean, these facts were not, I don't know where they got their information from. And so I just want to point out that every year for our annual meeting, we have invited the entire legislature to come and to review our meeting, to review what we've done for the year. I have offered to come to the legislature and speak with them about that in response a couple times to some of the Lindsay Larigo or Legislator Larigo's inquiries or comments that she makes in public. And I have never been reached out by her. She's never attended any of our meetings. She's never been online. And it is completely political. In my opinion, it's 100% political. I can't figure out another way around it. If you're running for office and you're using ErieNet, which is a very, and there's no way to spend this. We are doing what we have set out to do. We are not behind. We are not where we probably thought maybe 2 years ago we'd be, but we don't control Make Ready. And so we are moving at the speed that we are allowed to move at. We have the money and we have the ability, we have people coming on board, we have meetings with internet service providers. So when somebody asks me in the outside, maybe the media side or even the media, my answer is we are doing what we're supposed to be doing. The system is being built and it's never not going to be built. I know it's a double negative, but it will be built. And where maybe our completion date gets moved back here and there, the work that is done day in and day out is happening. The money that we need to spend, we are not over budget. In fact, next month when we present to you the first draft of the budget, which was presented to the Audit and Finance Committee today, you will see that we are exactly where we thought we would be 2 years ago financially. And so there's some things that have helped us do that, but we also took on a different project, including the city of Buffalo, which wasn't part of our 400 miles. So the answer to the media is, every time, and somebody will call me, we have had board members call me, Jason has reached out, is there anything I can help? Martha has reached out. It's hard to respond to that information that is not factual. And so I guess what I ask board members to do when they're talking, to people outside or to the legislature or anyone asks you a question because they know that you're on the board is just give them the facts, because the facts speak for themselves. We have done, if you look at what Dan said from September of 22 to where we are now, it's quite incredible. If you watch the meetings and see the work that's being done, the resolutions that we've put forth and the amount of entities that we have to work with, it's quite impressive. And where we can't say that we have the system complete, we are getting there. We are making strides, which we'll talk about here. The Make Ready is coming together. And Matt will talk about how we have to wait on some that are ready to go because you have to get a section that is worth bringing out a construction crew set. That we are also being economical. We have sealed up our partnerships with entities that maybe we didn't have a great relationship with. Now we do. DOT, City of Buffalo. I could go on and on. We have weekly meetings now. Matt has put a construction manager in place that's doing really well. We just hired another salesperson. We have multiple meetings with internet service providers on a regular basis who are interested in working and getting onto our system. So every piece of questioning that has happened in the media is incorrect. And so I'm willing to go out there and talk again, but again, nobody comes to me. I've never received that letter. I've never had a phone call. My information is out there. It's the reason that they're not doing that is because the answer that they're getting, that we are being successful, is not what they want. So we've taken a lot of approaches when these things have come up to not respond. We have responded. We've gone and done interviews. We have a good announcement today. We'll do a press release on that. So my advice, and I've been in the political arena, as you all know, is if there isn't something to defend, then you shouldn't have to defend it. And I don't think we have to defend what we're doing. It speaks for itself. The system will be active. So anyway, I think that's probably hard for some people to hear. There are people out there, unfortunately, who want it to fail, which is sad because this system will be a game changer for Erie County. We're now starting to look at ways in which we can work with the ECIDA, start bringing in economic development pieces to highlight this fiber network so that everyone starts to benefit, not just the residents, but businesses and our government partners and our municipalities and beyond. And so everybody should want this to succeed. Everybody, especially if you represent a district. So that's my 2 cents on it. Obviously, I'm close to it because I'm doing it day to day, but we are making great strides. You know that, so I don't have to preach to this choir. But it's frustrating. The day before you move your baby girl to college, I got to deal with that. But it didn't matter. We deal with it and we get through it. And I appreciate everyone's support on it. I just, send them to me. Give them my cell phone number. I don't care. My cell phone number I think is the number on our website anyway. I will answer the phone and let's talk business. So anyway, unless anyone has anything else to say, we should move on. Right, man.
The one thing I'll just add, and thank you, Dan, thank you, Melissa, for that, is if we just take a minute to harken back to 2020, where the need for an ErieNet type service was ever prevalent because we were all shut in, and access was an issue, affordability was an issue. The fact that some folks didn't have high-speed internet to FaceTime or connect with aging parents or their families. That's what we're here to do. And as far as I'm concerned, if the time period is pushed, so be it. If we're dealing with the cost and managing them, so be it. You're not dwelling in infrastructure that was supporting of this type of new technology, this new business model. We're dealing with it day by day. We're not working in infrastructure that allows us to move as quickly as we know that because even the state is behind in understanding how we go on a service like this. But as we all go through it as a board, I would just encourage us not to be disenchanted by political football that this has become, but to lean in the idea that the reason why we're here is to ultimately, the basis of it is to bring us closer together. That is the point of it. That is why Wi-Fi is important and high-speed internet is important for the education, for our health, for our connectivity. And so I myself, like Melissa said, there's nothing to defend here. I would request that people get involved. Yes, we have meetings online. Yes, we have YouTube, but this door is also open on a day like today for people to come and experience the conversation that we're having. So my head has always been down doing the work. There's not many people like myself, like Melissa, like Matt, who've been on the grind for years at this, so it is a little bit frustrating. But when we get to the end of it all, the greatest thing that we can do is exactly what we're doing, which is to bring folks together.
Well said.
Well said.
With that, let's move into the executive director's report.
All right, let's do it.
Get down to business.
Okay. I'll go first, Matt, because I like to give the good news.
Oh boy, there we go.
We don't have any bad news today.
I'll let Melissa do it.
Okay.
Spoil it,
So our biggest news is that finally, we were given the grant award for the MIP Phase 4. Now, you might look at the number and be like, what the heck? So let me just give you kind of the outline. So as you recall, as the board probably will recall, we submitted, I don't even know when, a couple months ago, the Phase 4 for around $10 million. Thank you, I thought it was April, yeah. And so that was to include the Buffalo build, network equipment, and some other things. Then they came to us, I don't know if I updated the board because we had the summer break, but then they came back to us, to me in particular, and asked for us to increase our ask. So we submitted 10 million, they wanted us to increase the ask, or increase what we could do. Find out how much you could build in that time frame. So of course the deadline again was, because they are ARPA funds, was going to be December 31st, 2026. What could our team do? We dropped everything. ECC dropped everything. We even had Corey didn't even go on a vacation because he wanted to get this done because they needed it, of course, right away. We increased our ask, I think, to 33. It then got moved down to 27 million, and we submitted that. We had a couple meetings with Connectal. Nothing was really said except we were going over some detail things. Don't hear from them for a couple weeks. I don't want anyone to put your surprise face on. I'm just telling you what happened. Then we got a email back with zero explanation saying, here's an incentive proposal for $5 million. And there was no explanation of the bulk they asked us to put on, why that was there, and they removed the network equipment, which was the big one.
And they disqualified our public safety radio towers,
Yes,
and they disqualified anything that wasn't life safety healthcare.
correct.
And the they is Connectal?
Connectal.
Yeah.
So, so in the interest of time, and in the interest of frustration and not needing to keep going back and forth, we argued for a little bit about the network equipment. Again, no explanation. They had removed administration costs, and they had removed, that we decided that we wanted to add in a couple more of the public safety pieces that were not initially in there.
The Erie
Erie
Sheriff's
County
Station.
Sheriff Station. So with some back and forth, they added that back in, and we ended at $5,088,000 with an award letter. So I want to focus on the benefit. That $5,088,000 is a huge benefit to ERIENet, the LDC. Okay, it gets us to where we wanted to be. We had committed to Buffalo a build that was a stretch for ERIENet in an agreement for a license agreement, and also the fact that we wanted to expand in the city of Buffalo. That bill will be covered, right? So that helps us with future operating costs that we were honestly struggling with. And so it fills a need that we had, okay? And it guarantees now the build for the city and an expansion, and it guarantees some increase to the public safety network piece. What it doesn't help is the city of Buffalo, the county, and the city of Lackawanna on their networking costs, which are expensive. It's over $2 million for the county, it was over $1 million for the city, and it was maybe $500,000 for the city of Lackawanna. Those are big numbers. What I can promise the city, which we'll have this conversation with, and what I can promise the county, and we've had some conversation with, and what I'll promise Lackawanna is we'll continue to reach for that networking equipment. We truly believe that it should be included, and we maybe just have to educate them a little bit more. I'm probably going to have some people from the county and the city and in Lackawanna reach out and to express why this will help and benefit them. But that's okay. We can accept and we can sign an incentive proposal for $5,088,000 while we negotiate a GDA where it could get put back in, or they include it in another phase. We're not going to give up on the equipment. We do believe it could be included. We do believe that they're going to have additional funds to include it. So I don't want to concentrate on what we didn't get. I want to concentrate on the benefit that this $5 million is going to add to ERIENet. And frankly, it's the first time we've actually gotten the award. The actual award,
Right.
not the conditional award. So, good job, everyone on that.
Does that start with, like, last year? I think
We got a conditional award letter, yep, and then they removed middle mile.
right.
Yeah.
Lasted 2 weeks.
Yeah. And so, there are some reasons to be extremely cautious when it comes. They are struggling. The Connect All office is struggling. We are not the only, we work with other middle mile networks and especially ECC. There are issues. We feel very confident in what we ask for. We feel 100% confident that we can get that bill done by 26. We're not worrying about bridge and gap loans to cover the build because it's a reimbursement loan. This is a very good start on MIP funding for Connect All, and it's really benefiting, which you'll see next month, how it played out in our budget. And the success and cash flow of ERINet and operational costs while we get things going and get customers on board. So this is a very positive, good announcement. We can start, we can start putting the cost towards that. We can get the Buffalo permits out, get ready, Nolan. We're gonna get all our Buffalo permits out and get going on that build. So, and that all was told to us today in terms of you can get started and going. So there's a resolution in there where we're asking for you to give me permission to sign and to negotiate the GDA. And then we can move forward and kind of put this past us while still trying to work on getting network equipment included, so.
When you say network equipment, what exactly?
That's go ahead.
So, Mike has 71 Erie County facilities that need to connect to the ERINet fiber. So that's dark fiber. So now he needs to light that fiber to communicate data across the fiber. So you need routers, basically the routers.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Switching
and
around.
you need core routers, and you need routers at each one of those 71 facilities. And that's, it's not an inexpensive
Right,
proposition.
it's not enough.
So good.
Yeah.
I guess I have two questions. So this money can be used for either capital or operating expenses? Or
It's predominantly capital,
Okay,
but project management and consulting and
Administration.
administrative costs.
So the soft costs associated with construction. That's good.
and this is money that has to be spent by the end of 2026,
Yep.
ARPA funds?
Yep, so it'll be prioritized,
Okay,
yep.
perfect, that's what I want to know. Thank you.
Any other questions on the grant? So we'll put together, probably just, I don't think we'll do I don't know. We'll huddle on how we want to present it to the media, but we probably will just do a press release, I would say. I don't know if we'll do a press event unless we're going to announce something else, but we'll get that out.
Did the grant ask for the ability to cash flow the project, to your point?
Yeah.
Can cash flow this?
Yes, they did, and they were satisfied with our answer. And we can cash flow that, because as Matt explained to the Audit and Finance Committee, we're basically utilizing 1.25 million because it's reimbursable in different stages. And so we have the availability to do that. We can do more than that. And so at any given time, we'll be tied up about 1.25 as we keep getting reimbursed the next level of the project. Yep.
We were concerned when they said expand the program, and we went to 480 different community institutes.
Mhm.
And that's a $33 million bill. Then we started thinking, we're gonna need a cap loan.
Yeah.
The good news out of that exercise is Melissa's identified some financial options. If we do ever need a gap loan, we have the connections now to pursue that.
Yeah, and they were great options, and we've built the relationship, and we've done the research. Yeah, it really was. It was good. It was good to go through. Yeah. Any other questions on that? Okay. I'm not going to talk about the media and legislator Larigo because Thomas covered that in his. So I do want to add something in. So earlier today, we had Josh Heim, who's our banker through M&T, come and meet with the Audit and Finance Committee. As this board might recall, we had to go through a process where Verizon required us to have a $500,000 letter of credit. Does anyone remember that? Anyway, we went through that process. We approved it in September of '24, And how we collateralize that letter of credit is through $500,000 of our investment. We don't have to do anything with it. It's just always been collateralized through the investment. And so what the bank discovered is that they didn't do whatever the last step was on their side. So we've never been at risk, but something on M&T's side did not happen that they needed to do so that they were protected on this piece. We did everything, Josh will tell you, it's on the thing, video if you want to watch it. We did everything we were supposed to do. So basically, when you collateralize on an investment, there's an extra step that you'd have to take anytime you withdraw funds out of our investment, which now we do on more of a monthly basis, sometimes every other month. And so it would take a little bit longer to get our money, which is typically 24 to 48 hours. We would have to do additional paperwork. So what the M&T Bank came up with, along with our investment advisor, John Z from LPL, which is M&T Bank, is they're doing like a mirrored account where there'll be another investment account that has just $500,000 in it. And we won't pull from that, except maybe once a year when we then re-put in 500 because it'll be on a maturity date. There's no extra fees, nothing changes, the rates are the same. It's just there's two accounts, one where we pull from that has the bulk. Right now it's about 21.5 million in our investments, and one that has 500,000 that when and if we withdraw from that account, we'd have to do this extra step. He came and talked to the board, the Audit Finance Committee meeting today, or board, and asked if there was any questions. There weren't. And we do not have to do another resolution when we do renewal. We covered that in our September. They just needed the copy of the signed, which we gave them today, of the approval to do this collateralized letter of credit. And every year and annually we do renew that. Any questions on that? I wanted to make the board aware. Jason asked for us to do that, which was appreciated. Okay. The other thing I wanted to talk about before Matt goes into his update on construction and make ready is the budget process timeline. Everyone's favorite time of the year. Really, there's not much that goes into it, but now that we have a nice budget established, Fred was on, maybe he jumped off, but he's working with myself and Courtney, as well as with Matt and the ECC team to put together projections, construction costs, all the things that go into a budget. We presented the draft to Mark and the team, the A&F team today, just to kind of review. The only significant thing I'll say about that is we had a budget without the MIP grant and a budget with the MIP grant. And now that we know, we can use the budget with the MIP grant, which is really nice looking. And so that will be presented to the board of directors in our September meeting for the first time. That will be the first time you guys get to review it, ask questions, see if you want to make any changes, because then the very next month, the Audit and Finance Committee will make a recommendation to the board to approve in the October meeting. So August, which was this month, the Audit and Finance met. September, Audit and Finance will meet again. I encourage all of Audit and Finance to be available. We did not have quorum today, which was fine because we did not need to make any decisions, but eventually we will. We're down, obviously, with the passing of John in that capacity. So hopefully everyone can make those meetings. And then that'll be the first time in September that the budget is presented to the board of directors. So get excited about that. The personnel committee should probably meet and review the staff requests and the annual reviews, which we'll get to you in time for you to set up that meeting. Again, John was part of that meeting, and so that committee, so probably need to pull someone else in. And then October is obviously the final Audit and Finance Committee meeting on the budget. They'll make recommendation to the board to approve. We'll do a final presentation if anyone has any questions. And then we submit at the end of October. We have to have the ABO budget submitted, which we do after you approve. Any questions on that process? Okay, Matt?
Thank you. So you have my written report, and I try to give some extra detail in the written report if anyone's interested. I'll hit the highlights. One of our log jams has been getting our permits through DOT. and that process has improved tremendously. We have 68 permits into DOT, 50 have been approved, and that's 70, so 3/4 of our permits are now approved. Still got 25% to get through. And that's not to say as we move forward with the Connect All grant, we won't have a new permit that we're gonna need from DOT, but the logjam has come, it's much better. We understand what they're looking for. They have a better appreciation of what we're trying to do and what we're up against. Erie County permits are turning around generally in 2 weeks. The City of Buffalo permits, now that all our contractors are city-approved contractors, those permits are turning around quickly, usually within 2 weeks. Our railroad permits, you know, we got half of those approved, and more coming in, and I think ErieNet and Harris Beach have worked out as best terms as we're gonna get from the railroads, and we're agreeing to the rest of it. So, right, Andrew? Make ready. So there's 2 parts of make ready. There's the make ready survey and design, where we assess what has to happen for us to get on the pole. And then there's make ready construction, that we actually do that work to make our space available. 80% of the make ready design, survey and design is complete. So we have 173 applications. It's actually, we're closer to 13,000. And that's one of the reasons why we have this log jam, both in permitting and in make ready.
You said 13,000 poles?
Yeah. We submitted 13,000 polls like in 90 days. So grid and icing is just inundated with our make ready applications. And they do this not just out of Western New York. They icing and grid approve for their entire jurisdiction. So we're in a queue. Same in DOT. We submitted 68 permits, all kind of within a 6-month period. And again, they got like 4 people at Region 5 that evaluate and approve these permits. So, it's a slog to get through. But we're through 80% of that make ready, which means 80% of our make ready is now in construction, make ready construction. And I think the board appreciates this now, that make-ready construction is construction. That's what we have to do to create the space to attach our cable. We gotta move the electric lines higher up. We gotta move the telco lines lower down and get our 12 inches of space to hang our cable. And so we're, of that, you know, we had nearly all of that work awarded to a contractor. There's still 11 that we're waiting for proposals to come back on, but nearly all those applications have been assigned a contractor. Of those, 22 are still pending permits, but each week we get those permits and we release more make-ready crews. 74 of those 128 applications are under construction. 32, and this is important, the electrical make-ready is complete. When the electrical make-ready is complete, that means it's safe for our ErieNet CLW fiber contractor to hang our messenger cable that we attach the fiber to. So that's where we secure our space on the pole. And so, you know, we're doing that now as I speak. And I got something to show you here. Our underground construction, likewise, you know, we don't have as much underground because it's expensive. Most of what's been completed has been more in the suburban rural areas where we're trying to avoid heavy make ready by going underground. So we have 6 miles done, there's another 7.5 that we're waiting on DOT right-of-way permits. I'll talk about the board resolutions later, and then the aerial construction, we have 32 miles of that messenger cable installed. We have 23 miles of fiber optic cable installed, and somewhere between 50 and 60 miles of fiber that we're forecasting over the next 30 days. So it's beginning to ramp up. I'd like it to ramp up faster, but it is improving. We're hopeful by year end in December that will be somewhere between 100 and 150 miles of fiber. We completed today, in fact, before this meeting, I was out at the Elk Street Railroad Bridge. H&H is our contractor, and that bridge conduit, they are wrapping up this afternoon. They did a terrific job. I got some photos here for you. Hope this works. So here's the Elk Street Bridge, and here's our new conduit hanging along the fascia of that bridge. Here's another look at where it comes in, and photos cropped off here, but this is where we're off the bridge. There's a pull box that we installed, H&H installed, and that's where our underground fiber will connect on this side of the bridge, traverse over the railroad tracks to get to the other side of the bridge. And I don't know if you ever, have you been over Elk Street, but it's an impressive bridge. It goes over the major rail lines of Buffalo, and I'll show you.
Is that a city asset, or no, is that a city bridge?
That's a city bridge. And here's a picture of it, or excuse me, here's a map, Google Earth. This is all railroad tracks. I don't know, there's at least 12 tracks in both directions. And this is Elk Street going across. And what's important to know about that is, if I zoom out, the way we get out of downtown Buffalo to get down to Lackawanna, to get to our BTC co-location, is over this bridge. So it's a critical path for us. And then if I zoom in on that, again, yeah, you saw the complexity of the tracks. So we got that behind us. And we'll be releasing, because we now have the city permits, so that we can release our underground contractors to connect to either side of the bridge with that. So
is that conduit space our unique space? Like, did we add the conduit, or?
yeah, that's ERINET built conduit. We're gonna, what we call sleeve that conduit, so that we'll have additional, we'll take up one duct, and we'll probably have at least 3 beside that.
So we'll be able to lease
So-
it or allow somebody else?
Right, so if another carrier wants to get across that bridge, that's a potential sale for us to make that space available.
Yeah, I mean, if we're doing it anyways, we might as well.
And I think that's today's show and tell.
Freezing.
So we are definitely in construction. It is moving forward. Oh, I do have one other thing to show you. And I was saying earlier in the finance committee, you know, when we forecast construction, it's like forecasting the weather. You know, your forecast is good for about 2 or 3 days, and then the weather changes.
Construction's kind of like that too. But I did want to show you this. Hold this up. Share the screen again. There we go. So this is a print from an email from my engineer, Ron. But what I was asking him, I said, what do we got under construction and, what's next? So the green is either the fiber's built or it's under construction. And so this is our Clarence build that we got to jump on earlier in the spring. Most of this is complete. Down here is our West Seneca to Springville corridor that we've been talking about. So that's all underway, and the southern part is more built, the northern part's more under construction. And then the yellow pieces are what's next. This is where the make-ready is clearing, and we'll be able to release CLW out there next.
Is the green fiber, actual
The
fiber,
green
or?
the green is fiber.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so the yellow is
The
the.
yellow is the next, is the,
You're moving the wires up
Yeah,
and
look at
down.
Jeremy. Oh, you're in Springville? I wonder why you care.
now, there's that, so there's another piece over here.
Does fiber in Springville?
You guys know the
first year.
towns better than
Sure,
I
I drive
do
fast.
over here.
Thanks.
And then you can see, this is more of our strategic build, because this is how we get out of downtown, and this is how we get over to Cheektowaga. And Mike, this is how we're gonna get fire training back to 45 Elm. And this green piece here is county conduit that we have access to. And we'll be pulling fiber through that once we get our DOT permit for Division Street.
What's the light green versus the dark green?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's not the good dark green.
Okay.
Well, I was happy that your construction company was in the Rath building, that they actually
Yeah.
got 2 out of the 3 cables pulled.
Right.
Up to the 15th floor, and we have something in our data center now.
And we're ready to get over to 350 Main, which is, so the southern piece in Lackawanna, that's a co-location called Victory Technology Center. And across the Rath building is 350 Main. which
Yeah,
is
you
the
got
main
50 Main and
main co-location for Western New York, or we call it the Carrier Hotel. So,
What is the approximate time then for connecting to other important county things like the convention center and going to Lackawanna
well,
Renaissance?
the convention center is right around the corner.
Right.
Literally. We're waiting on Grid,
In every way.
we're waiting on Grid to formally, they identified the conduits available, they priced it for us, they quoted it, we just have to get the paperwork essentially that gives us access to their duct. And then we can connect the convention center to the Raft building. And that's good, because we were gonna, ask the city to tear up Pearl Street or Franklin. And
I would have said no.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
so, and that would have been a very expensive build for us, so we were able to avoid that by using the grid.
It was just redone.
Yeah, they had to rebuild the manhole outside of the Rath building. They were saying, the construction crew, in order to pull,
Yeah.
before they could pull the rest of the fiber into the road.
Right.
So, and they didn't give us an ETA for that.
So when we have that pathway, so now I'll move into the operational side of ECC's contract with ErieNet. So we have the net sync, we have the purchase order, we're closing in on having the actual agreement. And we have a $2 million purchase order for the network equipment for Erie County. The core equipment for the Rath Building and fire training is going to ship, pieces of it start shipping next week, and all of it shows up later in September. And they don't bill for it till it all shows up. So we should see an invoice sometime in September that'll be due in October.
So bring the check to that October meeting.
Sure.
Mhm.
And
That
that equipment goes into the Raft Building, and this is why we need that property agreement for fire training, because we're gonna put a cabinet out there, and that'll be our backup center, backup pop. And then we'll be able to light that, have that all tested and ready to go, so that as the county facilities come online, we'll be able to test all those connections in advance of you taking ownership of the operations. So you'll see that coming over the next 6 to 9 months. Are you still in play to extend your current contracts?
Sure. Verizon hasn't, we've been doing this for what, 6 months now, and they still haven't given me an updated contract.
All right.
They promised me today.
Just let them forget about you.
End of the week. So,
Okay.
we'll see.
Melissa already shared with you the Connect All. I gave you just a little bit of the diary entries of how we got there. And sales and marketing is going well, considering, we don't have a lot built. So when we get as more and more of the network comes online, that generates a lot more interest from the carriers, because their planning window is like 6 months, right? So, but we have some NDA agreements, so I can't say publicly exactly where we are with the negotiations, but we have several ISPs that are interested in participating in our backbone. And we have a number of resolutions for you to approve today, so I won't spend too much time on this. But the town of Tonawanda has facilities, and Tonawanda wastewater treatment has facilities. So similar to Erie County, they want to keep their sewer networks separate from town facilities. But I was able to show them that they do it as a combined project, it saves both. It saves the town and the water department more money if they do it together, economies of scale. And they very much liked the proposal. Their IT, sewer, their IT, water, and engineering groups all put a recommendation forward to pursue the proposal. I haven't heard back as to whether it's gotten into the 26 budget for the town. They weren't sure whether they would be able to get it in 26 or whether it would be 27. But what I'd like the board to consider is they're very interested in using the RAF top as the town's backup data center. And that, they said if we were willing to give them a cabinet in the data center, that would save them, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars, but they wouldn't need to build their own backup data center.
We'd be more than happy to discuss that.
So
Is that
that's
something
kind of,
other towns would ask? I mean, is that an incentive for us to?
Probably a larger
Yeah.
town, maybe like
Yeah.
Amherst.
We've offered it in the past to shared services,
Right.
to towns.
We have the capacity to.
Oh, yeah, and just the county's data center, not including the pop room, but then the county's data center has capacity. So we were gonna actually do Monroe County, back up their stuff at their facility.
so I was referring to the section of the data center that we have for EerieNet. And we have identified like 4 cabinets that EerieNet needs. But we have a whole other row of 4 that are available. So I think,
Plus,
I mean,
space is
if that's the icing on the cake to get the town to sign a substantial IRU agreement, I would think we'd want to offer that up. And I think perhaps that'll be attractive to other towns.
We love shared services, anyway.
Exactly.
Is that a Erie net decision or Erie County decision?
Well, if it's in the ERINET pop room, it's a pop room, EC, or this-
ERINET, yeah.
ERINET's decision. If it's, they want to share with us, because we have a little bit more capacity, so to speak, in power generation and so forth like that, redundancy and so forth like that we can offer. them.
Yeah, I didn't,
Plus tax
I didn't
support
see it so much as a revenue opportunity for ERINET as just a value add
To a
to,
customer.
right. So, more to come.
Either way, we could do it.
And the rest of the proposals we're gonna talk about on the resolutions. And this week, Michael Vogt started as our new ERINET sales rep. If you recall, Greg Hooper needed to retire for family obligations. And Michael's coming to us from an IT background, both in software as a service, which is different from what ERINET offers, but related, especially on our managed network services. But he's also had time selling business to business for Spectrum. And prior to that, he was both sales and sales management for Mass Mutual. So you'll get a chance to meet him at a future meeting, but we have him onboarding this week, and we'll be getting him engaged shortly. And unless anyone has questions, move on.
All right, thank you, Melissa, thank you, Matt, for that executive director's report. We did have the audit and finance committee meet today. We did have some information provided. Mark, do you want to give any other remarks from the committee?
I think just on the higher level that the MIP grant is really going to move the needle a little bit further than we had originally planned for. Meaning that originally we thought our point when we had to sort of shift focus from being a construction project to an operations and maintenance organization was likely going to happen by like first quarter 2026. We think that that's now going to be closer to first quarter 2027. So really it's given us a little bit more bandwidth in that respect to be able to both have a little bit of a deliverable to be able to use for the marketing and sales, which is ultimately then what we need. But again, we'll be refining that going forward, but as a first foray, certainly the timing of the MIP grant is very positive in that respect. It's just nice to have at least some amount of it settled so we can move forward. And to be honest, I sort of think based on how ambitious this whole endeavor is, it's probably going to work out for the best that the MIP grant is so much smaller and more that we can bite off at this point. And it doesn't mean there won't be future opportunities, but now we actually have an award that we can start making plans on rather than this, back and forth of do we have an award, has it changed, what other negotiations. So I think that's going to be a positive, and that's going to help us be able to project out the budget and cash flows a lot better, I think, in the future.
Okay, anything else for Mark and the audit and finance committee? If not, along in the agenda, so there is no unfinished business. There's no new business, so we'll go right into our resolutions. So, resolution 2025-17, resolution of the Erie Net Local Development Corporation ratifying certain incentive proposal by and between corporation and ESD, by and through the Technical Office, and authorizing the negotiation and execution of a grant disbursement agreement. Connect all relative disbursement, certain grant funds not to exceed $5,000. Take a motion. Motion. Second, Mike Reed, and seconded by Dan Castle. Discussion.
Do you want an explanation? I mean, this is what we talked about.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion carries. I don't think Elizabeth is on anymore.
No, she
No.
got off.
She said she'd be back and forth, so.
Okay. Motion carries. 2025-18, resolution of the corporation authorizing the negotiation and execution of an amendment to that certain conduit occupancy agreement by and between the corporation and National Grid to contemplate the licensure of an additional 39,440 feet of conduit, and to authorize expenditure of funds not to exceed $114,000 in furtherance of the payment of the annual conduit occupancy fee for additional conduit. I'll do a motion.
Motion?
Motion by Mike Reed, second.
I'll second.
Discussion.
A question. Explain me a little more, I'm a little confused about, are we leasing this from National Grid?
That's right. It's Grid's conduit, and then we would be leasing, generally, if you think of a conduit, they're typically 4 or 5 inch diameter conduits. And then inside that conduit, it's sleeved with ducts, kind of like what I mentioned on Elm Street. So we're leasing one of those ducts. And this is actually a good thing, because when our preference is always to lease duct, especially within downtown Rochester, than to have to build.
Means Buffalo.
It's,
Buffalo.
Buffalo.
what did I say, Rochester?
Rochester.
It's hometown, it's actually. It's even more. But, so we don't have to build it. So we tie into one of the manholes, and then, for as an example, the convention center, we tie into a manhole outside of the convention center, and then that takes us down Franklin Street, and then that allows us to pop into the raft building. So rather than tear up that sidewalk street in the city for hundreds of thousands of dollars, we rent for 228 cents a foot per year. For the years, for as long as we want to keep it. So probably at least 20. Our IRUs are for 20 years.
$228 a foot.
$2.28 a foot, yeah.
Okay, that's different, yeah.
And so the resident, and, 2 years ago when we did the original, we didn't really know how much conduit we were going to need or how much was available. So we had 10,000 feet. We know for a fact today, we need 32,000 feet. And we'd like to have a little cushion to go upwards to 50,000.
But this agreement is only covering 10,560.
No, it's taking 10,560 up to
I see.
50,000.
I see.
You had already agreed to the 10,000, yep.
Okay, yeah, I got it.
And so what this actually does, it's more, we're gonna spend more on conduit rental, but we're gonna spend appreciably less on underground construction.
It doesn't preclude us from doing that construction at some later date also.
No,
So they
Because
tear
that might be, well, that could be something,
they
you
tear up
know,
Pearl and
decades
tear
from
up
now.
Franklin again.
It makes sense to get out of
We just did
the
leasing.
leasing.
Actually figure our own.
So in 20 years, when they're ready to Franklin again, we'll put our own thing in.
Gotta be right. I mean, but it makes sense for now. Absolutely.
and that 228,
the grid has to maintain it. There's flood, there's construction, whatever, that's inside the grid.
That also speaks to the reason why you want 3 or 4 sleeves in our conduit over the bridge, because then we can lease that out for $2.50 a foot or whatever.
No, it's over a railroad, that's value.
Yeah, that, right, exactly.
Okay, any more questions? This resolution is in motion and properly seconded, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I want to make sure you capture Martha's vote here.
Yep, I hear. Sorry.
All right, motion carries. All right, motion 2025-19, a resolution of the Erie Network Development Corporation authorizing the issuance of a customer proposal to Bloom Internet Inc. Making certain findings as required by New York State Public Authorities law relating to the disposition here of property owned by the corporation. Have a motion? Motion. Second?
Second.
Discussion?
Just the,
Yeah,
this is the first one we've seen.
Right.
Since we talked about this.
Yeah, discussing.
So this will basically be for the rest of them, ish. Well, maybe not all of them.
So, yeah, and so I'm happy to just kind of take the lead from a legal perspective, just to explain what we're dealing with here. So as you may recall, so the board to date has issued 4 customer proposals. So it's customer proposals. So this is contemplative of the issuance of an additional customer proposal. Now, at the last meeting, I believe I came in, I had discussed, certain additional determinations that need to be made by the board with respect to the public authorities laws. You all probably know,
Yeah, market value.
Yep, is a public authority, and so prior to disposing of property by negotiation, which would be occurring here because there's a retained proposal that's negotiated between the ERINET and the customer. ERINET is required to obtain an independent appraisal of the value of fiber, which was done back in May. I believe a copy of that appraisal was provided to the board for review. And so there's really 2 facets to this, right? So one is, ERINET is required to obtain an independent appraisal of the property just to make sure that the disposal of said property is occurring, at or above fair market value. Now, that's not to say that ERINET is not permitted to dispose of its property below fair market value, but if it chooses to do so by negotiation, the board would also need to make further determinations for below fair market conveyance, essentially reflecting that there's no reasonable alternative to the proposal that would otherwise accomplish the same purposes. And typically, those types of conveyances are subject to certain different types of requirements. So, for instance, if the conveyance is within the mission and purposes of ERINET to provide better fiber optic connectivity throughout Erie County, or in the alternative, which is similar to a lot of customers, is if they're a municipality and the terms of that disposition would require that the property and use of that property would remain vested in that municipality. So there's a few different, and what you'll note here, especially with this resolution in particular, is that this covers both, whereas the prior resolutions simply covered the proposal. Now, as we continue through the agenda, you will notice that there's also, I believe, 4 resolutions related to the prior proposals that were authorized by the board. Now, those don't reissue those proposals because they were already issued, but the idea here is those simply contemplate the board making a determination pursuant to the public authorities law as required. So once the board does make that determination, typically what happens is a 90-day notice is submitted to the authority's budget office along with various other parties required by statute. That's simply a notification that gets sent to the appropriate parties to notify them of the disposition. It gets placed on the authority's budget office website, and technically we can't officially dispose, or ERINET cannot officially dispose of the property until that 90-day notice period has expired. We have built-in language into all of the IRUs and license agreements, which makes them contingent upon that 90-day period expiring. So if there's any questions, please let me know, because I know that was quite a bit. I just wanted to make sure everyone kind of understood what exactly was contained in the newer proposal resolution. And going forward with new customer proposals in future meetings, those resolutions will look similar to what is before you.
So the first two, 19 and 20, those are new IRU proposals. The board hasn't seen those yet. So these are new proposals.
There's actually 3. We accidentally left off, yep, your additional one is Lackawanna, and that is also new.
And that's
So
25.
2519, 2520, and 2525 are all new.
They're new.
And the other
Andrew
4
was
are
saying
the
the other 4 is to catch up
ratification.
with the notification to the budget office. But all of them will be notified to the budget office.
Yes. Their 90 days start when they notify.
We have to take action on each of these individually, or can do it collectively and do it at once.
Well,
Procedurally, I don't want to cut corners, we're fully transparent, following the rules of GAO, and we're in full compliance, but.
I'll go through them all.
Yeah.
Okay. But,
I don't think much will next.
I want to get my motion coming up.
So right now we have a motion on 19. You meet your quota every time, Mike. You've never missed it.
It's always bad.
yeah, no, I was just gonna add, so yeah, it is best practice to go through each resolution individually, but also as you'll know, and I'm sure Matt will, explain more so just the business type of things, but you'll note there's a couple of proposals in here that also do contemplate open market value disposition. So in the back of those resolutions, there's an explanatory statement that's also going to be filed for consideration, and so that'll be included in there. So that's why we should just go through the form.
So with that, for each of them, we'll still need a couple seconds for discussion if something comes up. If not, we'll go for it. Okay?
Sure.
All right. So 2519 was properly motioned and seconded. May I take a vote, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. I think that was.
That was
Mark
smooth.
saying yes.
Yes.
All right. Moving on to 2025-20, resolution of the Erie Net Local Development Corporation authorizing one, the issuance of a customer proposal to Town of Wanda, and 2, making certain findings required by the New York State Public Works law relating to disposition of certain property owned by the corporation. Now, motion. Second.
Second.
Oh my God.
You almost missed out on it.
You did.
All right, any discussion about this one?
So this has one of those below mark, yeah.
Correct, yeah, and you'll note that in Schedule A attached to the resolution. And it mainly restates information that's already been dated.
And it's a municipality.
Well,
I think all we need to say that is, it's a municipality.
Andrew said this below market value, but why it's different is the town of Tonawanda is asking for 4 strands of fiber. And so they get a discount because they're asking for 4 instead of 2.
I see.
And they're a municipality.
Good by me?
Okay.
Good by.
Oh, yeah, okay. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Motion carries. And just because this is like 19 and 20, we'll just pop to 25.
Yep.
So, resolution 2025-25, resolution of the Erie Net Local Development Corporation authoring 1, the issuance of a customer proposal to the city of Lackawanna, and 2, making certain findings as required by the New York State Public Authorities Law to the disposition of certain property owned by the corporation. Now the motion.
Second.
I'll open this for discussion.
Look how excited.
It's like motion pickleball here.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Motion carries. All right, we'll just bounce back to,
Manager.
You go to your internet access.
No.
We haven't done that before.
County doing.
all right, these are the ones that we ratified, the catch-up
That is correct, yeah. So these are existing customer proposals that were previously authorized by the board. And as you'll note in the heading of the resolutions, we're making the exclusion permit for it.
Okay. Resolution 2025-21, a resolution of the Local Development Corporation making certain findings as required by the New York State Public Authorities Law relating to the disposition of certain property owned by the corporation to the county of Erie. May I take a motion?
Motion.
I think, just
Second.
Jason, right?
Discussion on this one? Questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions, motion carries.
I'm sorry, can I just ask on the, sorry,
Sure.
Schedule A, monetary value, what's the explanation for the, I mean, even though we already went?
So Erie County is of course our sponsor. And so we, like the city of Buffalo, because we're gonna get to them next or soon. We're bringing 12 strands of fiber to every one of the county facilities. County only needs 2 strands. Well, actually, there's 2 strands for county IT, there's 2 strands for public safety, there's 2 strands for sewer, but then there's extra strands for future capability. Because Erie County is a sponsor, and again, they're spending a lot of money. We discounted those extra strands.
And they're a municipality.
Thanks.
Satisfied?
It should be, I mean, when there's below market, that's probably a good thing just to have something on the record.
Well, you gotta remember, the appraiser really gave a fair market value for a traditional
Lindsay asked.
2-strand IRU.
Just say,
He didn't really
I'll play it back.
contemplate larger deals like
I don't
this.
think you need to
So
wrap it.
it's relative.
Moving on to resolution 2025-22, resolution of the corporation making certain findings as required by the New York State Authorities Law relating to the disposition of certain property owned by the corporation to the town of Grand Island. I'll take a motion.
Motion.
Second. Questions, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Motion carries. Resolution 2025-23, resolution of the corporation making certain findings as required by the New York State Public Authorities Law relating to the disposition of certain property owned by the corporation to the city of Buffalo. Have a motion. Read second.
Second.
Discussion, any questions?
Yeah, just to go through the below market value
It's
analysis again.
very similar to Erie County. City is waiving telecom licensing in order to get a favorable IRU. And so
No, they waived it for the
Satisfy
build. Yeah, they waived it for the
to
build.
satisfy that, we offered 12 strands to each one of their facilities.
And they're a municipality.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Motion carries. Last but not least, resolution 2025-24, resolution of the corporation making certain findings as required by the New York State Public Authorities Law relating to the disposition of certain property owned by the corporation to Erie One Boastings. May I have a motion? Second.
Motion now.
Discussion, questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Motion carries. Our next meeting is September 16th, 2025. And if nothing else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Chairman Tobin, second. Second.
I'll second.
Dan Castle, all in favor?
Aye.